Hi, my name is Marco Ronzoni and I'm an industrial engineering and management student from DTU, and welcome to the IPM seminar. I'm doing now my master thesis project regarding the implementation of the Tele-presence robot technology from double robotics in relation with distance management. So in the next slides, I'm going to present to you some of the preliminary findings, condensed into some slides regarding the first usage experiences related to the robot and the data that I collected now during my thesis. Nowadays, distance management and digitalizations are pressing needs for the companies, especially when having dispersed working conditions. They need to be ready to embrace and adapt new technology, especially in the Industry 4.0 context. For instance, the Tele-presence robot is a new type of technology that helps the communication and the interaction between employees and managers, even when geographically dispersed. The purpose of this master thesis project is to investigate the human-robot interaction. So in detail, how can the robot substitute and support in some circumstances the role of the manager? Developing also some guidelines with the pros and cons for the correct usage, underlying some changes that are required, and studying the degree of the integration with other daily practices. In general, the process of the analysis is divided between three phases. So before the implementation phase, in which we collect expectation, motivations, and anticipated benefits from the users. During the implementation phase of about 4 to 6 weeks in each company collaborating, in which we try to test the success or failure of the implementation of the robot based on some criteria and indicators established beforehand. And then finally, a phase after the implementation, in which we collect the impressions and thoughts from all the users through a workshop or interviews, and we try to compare also the final outcomes with the initial expectations. Here on the picture, there is a representation of the robot. And hi, Casper. Hello. And so it's a sort of a Segway with an iPad on top. And as you can see from the picture, it has a lateral stability control that works through a shock absorption mechanism. So the robot has a self-balance, let's say, as a Segway. Then it has an adaptive HD camera kit that helps you to drive and move around with a 150-degree wide-angle lens. You can drive it through your iPad or iPhone, having the proper app, or through the laptop using Google Chrome. Another interesting feature is that it has end-to-end encryption of the data, so there are no audio or video recordings, just to be sure that the data are secured. And also you can share contents via the iPad, so you can share the entire screen or an application window of your own driving device with the person that, like me in this case, interacting with the robot. So to have a more interactive session and to feel more involved, let's say. So far, there are some case studies already in the US especially, but also a few cases in Germany in which they are already testing the usage and the implementation of the robot in some companies. But there is still space for improvement, and there is a demand of more knowledge in this area. So now let's move to underline some of the first findings about my thesis that are both positive and negative. So starting with the positive ones, there are some benefits and improvements that are achieved thanks to the usage of the Tele-presence robot related to the data that I collected. So first, it allows to interact with different people in different markets, in different locations, people with different cultures, of course. This is due to the geographical distance and dispersed working conditions that are really common nowadays. It allows also the participation in events, even if you're located far. It enables also the physical presence, so it allows you to be there physically, even if you're not there. So that's why it's better than traditional video conferencing methods, because it also tries to erase the anonymity risk. So that usually happens when you participate in a meeting just virtually, let's say. Moreover, it brings some savings in terms of time and cost that can be avoided, not doing the travels, let's say, so staying at your own spot. Here, there are a couple of quotes that I thought that are interesting for this case. So, for instance, a senior innovator said that you get a better feeling of being present. So you can use some of the normal behavioral rules that you would use normally. So that's just to back up of what I said before. And another consultant said that he sees that there is kind of a saving in terms of time and money when he's using the robot in some situation. Then it's really easy to use, set up, and control. In general, it just takes about 5 minutes. And it has also a really long-lasting range of autonomy of about 8 hours. And when you have in your company more robots from Double Robotics, you can manage them through the fleet management system. That is a tool, a platform that allows you to, for instance, book and reserve a robot for a certain time. So you are sure that no one else is going to use that robot for in that specific time. Like, for instance, that you can do today with booking a meeting room, for instance. Right now, what it has been used for are workshops, are factory tours in which the manager is supervising and controlling the employees in the factory, driving around with the Double. Like in the first picture, there is a manager that is driving the robot and is speaking with the employees and check the task. Then what else? It has been used for virtual meetings. So for instance, in the other picture, there is a teacher with some little children, and other children are participating virtually using the robots. So we have 6 robots in here participating in the lecture. But also, it is used for participating in conferences and in social encounters. Like, for instance, once an employee told me that his manager was not able to participate in the Christmas party event of the company, so he participated using the robot. Personally, I'm quite open to this. We can try it out in all types of meetings. So this is just to show that this consultant was really open to try it around in all types of situations. And in this case, I think it's really important also the attitude and the degree of trust in the technology. There are also some challenges related to the first usage experiences and the data that I collected so far. As you can see from the picture, the robot works through internet and is connected to the app on the iPhone or the iPad, and to the laptop using Google Chrome. Therefore, there is the need of having a very good internet connection in order to provide the best usage experience possible. Moreover, sometimes when participating in crowded meetings, it's important to try to lock out and to isolate some noise that otherwise is going through the microphone. So I think it's really important that topic. And sometimes it's also important to locate the driver and the user of the robot in a quiet room and wearing headphones to improve the audio quality. As for many other technologies, the initial phase-in and the initial adoption phase requires, particularly in the beginning, some time to get used to that, being a new way of operating, different from the previous one. This is a quote from DTU students that used the robot to participate in a project in the US while staying here in Denmark. And she said that the biggest problem was the internet connection. So she experienced some issues regarding the audio because of this reason. Some other challenges are related to the encryption of the data. So even if the data are encrypted end-to-end to have a more secure communication, one of the first concerns of the users goes in this direction of asking, is this robot recording something? But there are no video or audio recordings, so to secure the communication, let's say. In general, the trust in this technology varies between individual and organizations, particularly in this first phase-in stage of the adoption of the technology. And lastly, there are some types of meetings and situations in which the robot is more suitable to use, depending on the type of the meeting, the importance of the meeting, if it's external or internal, and who are the participants. This is a quote from a consultant that say that those are the dimensions that you would take into account when deciding whether to use or not the technology. So comfortability, if it's external or internal. So for instance, if you have a meeting with a client or if you have a meeting just with your colleagues, and the importance of the meeting itself. These were only the preliminary findings of the initial phase of my master thesis. If you want to know more about that, if you want to have some suggestions, or if you have some questions, or if you simply want to collaborate, please don't hesitate to contact me. And thank you very much.